inspiration for that comes from Tsonga culture. So can you speak about the significance of preserving cultural identity in your global music?
Okay. So kuhusu my culture, I don't know, a lot of Tanzanians, when you say I'm Tsonga, a lot of them will be confused because they know me for my Swahili music. And so, yeah, I'm actually, because on social media, you guys are crazy. Let me make it clear today, once and for all. Kwamba, natoka Sauzi. Sio kwamba eti najifanya like eti ni Mtanzania tu anajifanya. No, I'm South African. Lakini nimeishi hapa pia. Ndo maana najua Kiswahili, you know, sio perfectly, lakini unaona chamtani tu. So I'm from Limpopo in South Africa. My mother language is Tsonga. Hata culture yangu, mara nyingi mkiniona nimevaa shibelani nikicheza, mshawahi kuona? Kwa hiyo ndo ndo tabia ya kwetu. So I'm usually doing Tsonga, and so I think most of my music will be in Tsonga and also some in Swahili as well. And I think the benefits of using my own culture, for me, it's not about the culture per se. For me, it has been as an artist to look at what is missing. So when I was in South Africa, at that time, there wasn't... When I was in the US, I realized that, for one, I was not happy being in that society. It felt as though the work had been done. And I missed being from a place where it felt like we had so much more to do, if that makes sense. So, you know, yeah, US, you guys are already dominating the world. I wanted to be in a context in which we still had the world to take over.
Okay, so leading to the next question now, how has your style contributed to your success and set you apart in the music industry?
I think my style has been very central. So my hairstyles, the colors that I wear, I think that's all been very central to my identity. I'm very recognizable, and I think that has really, really been a bonus for me. There is a lot of artists, you know, these days, right? Like a lot of artists. And so how are you going to be, you know, how are you going to be differentiated from everyone? And I suppose my style really did that a lot for me.
Now, when you're not performing in your home, do you still like to wear bright colors? Or are you just, it's just a personal question. Or are you just like low-key and let your hair out? You always liked really bright colors?
I have always liked really bright colors, okay, because I was surrounded by really bright colors.
Yeah.
And people were wearing bright colors when I was young. When I moved to Dar es Salaam, people were wearing colorful kangas, colorful, you know, there was always color in my life. And then I lived in Senegal as well for 2 years, and also there, beautiful attire, bright colors. So I really felt that the Africa that's kind of portrayed is sometimes very brown and dull, whereas the Africa I experienced was very bright and colorful. So I've always liked that. Even at home, I wear that. But another point about sort of the benefit of having a unique identity is that you can have fans. So there's people who are fans of me because they're fans of my hair. Right. Then there's people who are fans of me because they're fans of my outfit, you know? And so you can tap into different markets in that way, you know, and different audiences.
Okay. Can you talk about breaking new grounds for artists in general, especially those of you who are here? Many of you are probably curious about that. And share your own strategies, how to genre boundaries.
Oh my God, I'm glad you asked this question. So, okay, wait, what do you mean? Maybe I should understand your question first before I start thanking you.
Well, I'm talking about, I mean, your genre is not, you created it, really. I mean, your style of music isn't, what do you call it? It's your own music.
Yeah.
So how do you do that. I mean, you pushed some boundaries in some ways,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
Or did you have another idea about boundaries? Pushing
No.
different boundaries? You could talk about that too.
No, I do like that question. So the way I kind of see it is anyone can push boundaries. Like
Yeah.
you can go right now into your studio and make literally anything. You could hit these two bottles together and record it. You know what I mean? The real question for me is like, how do you then, like, how do you make new stuff and have that stuff translate to a bigger audience?
Right.
You know, I think that's the question. How do you produce a new genre and then people embrace that?
Okay,
you know?
let's go with that then. That's the question.
Yeah. So, what's genre kwa Kiswahili? Mahadi. The. Ni the au the? Oh, yeah, okay. Mahadi. Kwa hiyo, okay, wanauliza kwamba how do you create yani mahadhi mapya, right? So kwangu nilichokifanya ni kwamba nimechukua vitu ambavyo watu tayari walikuwa wanajua. Kwa mfano nyie hapa mlikuwa mnacheza yani beat za South mlikuwa mnazipenda toka zamani. Mlikuwa mnacheza. Nyimbo za South toka zamani zilikuwa zinapenda huko. Kwa mfano tano la miligupi kona mnaijua na ile ya bashima babara ruingeta bari wampona umeona. Kwa hiyo mlikuwa mnacheza yani nilikuwa nakuja huku na nilikuwa nasikiliza muziki nyingi sana ambayo zilikuwa za South. So kile nilichokifanya mimi ni kuchukua sound ya South ambayo ilikuwa haina maneno ya Kiswahili na nikaingiza Kiswahili, you know. So it's about taking something that is known, that exists, but like putting it into a new context, right? Because you can't just, I think, if you want to be popular anyway, I think it might be useful to mix the unknown with some known, to make people feel comfortable. If I do like a crazy, like if I do like a Shibelani beat at like 167 BPM, I'm still gonna rap. So people who like rap are gonna be like, oh, maybe I should listen to that, you know? Or I'll do boom, but I'm still rapping. And so taking the familiar and adding your part. Kwa mfano watu wengi hawajui kwamba on, like mnakumbuka when I blew up, which was 2017, which is when I started. Huku imetoka 2018. So around that time, there was, in the US, there was, the Migos were really big, including other rappers, but the style that was really popular, Mdaile, it was this style of rapping in triplets.
Can you give an example?
Yeah. So Migos is probably the most famous on that. So they'll be like, Versace, 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 Medusa, head on me like Illuminati. Mon, threes. Walikuwa wana rap hivyo. And that was the style of trap. Like that style of, that rap of trap, like it had taken over. In 2017, kila mtu, kama ulikuwa hurap hivyo, you were just boring at that time. Kwa hiyo, I took that style of rap and I put it on Home and I put it on Kiswahili. So nikisema, kwani mnataka Madjozi aje amanini? Umeona? Kwani mnataka Madjozi aje amanini? Nye hamialiki. Mbona mwenzaka nasema nanipenda like... I'm actually rapping like the Migos, if you listen carefully. Medusa head on me like, kwa nini mnataka Madjozi aje amanini? Nye hamialiki. So you guys will be like, wow, why do I love it? I can connect with it. While at the same time, it's actually taking a trend ambayo tayari ipo. Give me a round of applause. Nah, no way. No way.
All right, that's great. That leads me to another question, not on the list, but I saw you performing in Washington, D.C. I think it was last year with Stromae. And one thing you did that I thought was super fun, but also very smart. But I want to see if you actually did this intentionally. Was you were saying in between songs, hey, you know, my boyfriend just broke up with me, and you got to tell him how much fun I'm having, how sorry he should be because everybody loves me. And then you said, like, get on my, you know, like, hashtag or something. So she linked that to telling everybody to get on to help her, you know, make him know that he should be sorry he broke up. So I was thinking, okay, at first I thought it was true. And then I thought, you know, wait, maybe it's not true. Maybe this is just a really smart way for you to get activity and buzz on your social media during your tour.
Yes.
So, which one is it? Or was it a mix of both? Because it was really, really great. And it doesn't even have to be that it's a boyfriend, but I'm just thinking for performers to be able to do that, to engage in the audience and say, hey, this just happened to me, can you believe it? Get on and talk to my community and tell them, you know, what you think. In front of thousands of people. That can really make your social media and your really grow and stay active.
Yeah, well, thank you for reminding me of that painful time in my life.
Sorry.
No. I'm joking. Well, I think to your question of like, which one was I doing? Yeah. Yeah, I was doing both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing both of those things. So alikuwa nauliza kwamba like, wakati nilikuwa na perform US, nilikuwa nafungulia artist mwingine kutoka France ambaye anaitwa Stromae. So the audience, all the audience walikuwa mashabiki ya Stromae, walikuwa hanijui mimi. So between my songs, I used to, nilikuwa napiga story. So I would say like, you know, yeah, my boyfriend broke up with me, kwa hiyo, you know, kwa hiyo, please, yani shoot me, yani nikiperform, alafu mtag kwenye social media ili aone kwamba, yani niko juu saizi. Naone kwamba simkumbuki, umeona. Wakati nilikuwa nalia off stage, hey, that's crazy. So I was heartbroken. But thank you. I was terribly heartbroken.
But I bet it made you feel better.
It did. So I did want, I was like, yeah, if he does go into my social media, I do want him to see that I'm on tour.
Right.
So that was a part of it. And then I was like, yeah, why not use this to also push, you know, the song I was pushing at the time? But I think the biggest reason I did that is because the entire audience was a Stromae audience. I'm now facing people that don't know my music, they don't know me. How do you make them care about the songs you're singing? I mean, when I came onto like the Madison Square Garden show, for example, it was like 16,000 people. It had already been sold out before I was announced as the opening act. So nobody was there to see me. It's like going out and you're like, I know none of you have come here to see me. However, I have to make you care about what I'm saying somehow. And so I think maybe if there is a lesson to be learned from that is that story is important, right? Like if you're going to essentially sell a product, the story behind it is it's important to make people connect to that story and to connect to you as a person.
That's really smart.
Thank you.
And everyone loved her in Washington, D.C., by the way. Stromae was phenomenal, but show was really, really awesome. So it works. It works.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, another question. What do you think about collaborations with artists from different parts of the world?
Yes.
Do you encourage that? Do you think it's a key to success these days?
Oh my goodness. As you can see, that is kind of the rule of the day currently, yeah. I saw this tweet not long ago which said, today, right now, it's possible to have the biggest song in the world and have like many people never have heard of it.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, I feel that because of social media, we're all very divided in terms of your timeline is tailored to you. Like, even if, hata wewe ukiangalia simu ya mwenzako, right? Hutaona video za kufanana, si ndio? Wewe una timeline yako, yeye ana timeline yake. Right? Si ndio? Au? Like, basically, if on my timeline, they've seen that, you know, mi napenda show Madjozi, napenda kupika nini, or, you know, whatever you love, your timeline is going to show you, itakuonyesha vitu ambavyo tayari umeshaonyesha kwamba unapenda, si ndio? So, mwingine is not going to have the same timeline, which is why nikisema like we're not seeing the same things. Kwa hiyo kama kuna timeline ya Mario, yani natakiwa pia ku-reach mashabiki wake, kwa sababu kwa muda utakuta kwamba mimi wasingeniona, wasingenijua. You know what I mean? So because I feel like there is that divide of timelines and we're all looking at timelines that are catered to us, it's important to be able to enter other people's timelines, if that makes sense.
And that's how collaborations allow
absolutely
that to happen.
Absolutely, because there's no longer such a thing where all of us, the whole country is watching the same show at the same time.
Yeah.
That's no longer a thing. It
No.
used to be that. I mean, I don't know if you can think of any American examples where you pretty much knew on Monday everybody would have watched the same show over the weekend.
Yeah. That was reality before social media, really.
Exactly. So now you can't. So now everybody's looking at something different. And so how do you reach more people?
I see.
You try to reach other people's streams, I suppose.
Okay. One thing I liked, my favorite collaboration of yours was with Dr. Chauke.
Oh, yes.
And I don't know how many people know that. Will you ask them how many people know that particular song, that video?
Oh. Ameuliza kwamba ni watu wangapi ambao wanajua collaboration yangu na Dr. Thomas Chauke.
1, 2, not many, a few. Yeah?
People that know my collaboration with Dr. Thomas Chauke.
I loved it because you brought in, you know, not an international superstar, not a young, fiery artist, but somebody from Tanzania who has history, integrity. It was beautiful. It was my favorite. And I liked the video too.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was just great.
Thank you so much. No, and collaborations have helped me because, especially in this market, because sometimes I'm in South Africa and then I can't be here. Then I need to have songs that are like working here, this side for me. Like kwa mfano tukitoa Mama Amina na Mario, mi nilikuwa Saudi at that time. Lakini wimbo ulikuwa umefika huko. Na even my verse of me kama mimi napenda misichezi. Nataka mapenzi, misi angali mapesa ama benzi. Nataka That song mimi nilikuwa sijui kwamba it was so big. Kweli, nilikuwa sijui kabisa. Tumefika wapi Mombasa like 2-3 years ago. Kwa sababu mimi nimepiga wimbo Saudi, unajua, recorded it and you know, kina Aba na Darasa wakarudi nayo. And then like maybe 1 year later nikaenda Mombasa. And then I went out to the streets and so I'm thinking like the songs ambazo watu wanajua ni kina John C na nini. So nikaanza like, unajifanya unioni labda mimi mnaona nyie mnaijua, lakini wale watoto Mombasa yani wamenangalia kama yani walikuwa wajui kabisa kwamba nasemaje. Wao wakaanza kama mimi napenda message. Yani nikashangaa kabisa kwamba huu wimbo umefika mbali sana. Kwa hiyo ndio muhimu pia ya kucollaborate na watu wengine, kwa sababu kuna watu ambao Darasa anaweza kuwafikia ambao mimi nilikuwa hata sijui kwamba yani mtu anaweza kufika Mombasa yani nilikuwa sijui. So I was just giving an example of some collaborations I did in this region, which I even didn't know how big they got until I came here and people were
singing that song instead of the
reciting.
one you expected.
Exactly.
I'm trying to pick up on what you're saying.
How much are you getting?
Not very well, but okay. In the work of creating and performing African signature sounds, which is what you do, what are the biggest challenges and opportunities for younger African artists, not that you're old, in the global market with regard to balancing authenticity and global appeal? We talked about language in the green room. Maybe that would be a good time to bring that up, balancing, because that language issue is tricky.
Oh, yes. You see, even me today, I'm like juggling many languages.
Yeah.
The language one, yes, it's a very tricky conversation. So, in terms of global appeal, yes, how do you reach a global audience, but while you're still being yourself? So, in terms of language, I think when I won the BET Award, it was, thank you, it was after I did Huku, which was not even in English.
No, and that was a US BET Award,
Yes.
right? Which is different than the
Exactly.
African BET.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I hadn't, my big songs at that time were, there was no English at all. Because, sort of John Cena came afterwards. But so you can reach certain places, I think, and I've shown that. And Amapiano these days is reaching places where people don't understand anything that's being said, but it's not a problem necessarily. So it's going to be interesting to see. But one thing that I think is also very, very important is to decide what we mean by global. Because I have found that a lot of Western Europe, for example, doesn't care what language a song is in. Like, they'll be listening to Spanish songs, no problem. South America, they also seem to have less of a difficulty in taking in music that's other languages. Because at the end of the day, even the language that we consider huge, which would mostly be in English, they already don't understand that. So for them, it's like, well, it's the same, right? Like, what's the difference? To a person who only speaks Arabic, what is the difference of between a Swahili song and an English song? Nothing. You know what I mean? So we have to know who we're talking about when we say global. If by global we mean American, that could potentially be a problem because the American market has proven to be extremely slow and stubborn in terms of taking in different sounds, different languages, etc. Slowly, I think it could get there, but I think that so far has been the most maybe slowest market.
Well, you bring up a very good point there. Global audience, what does that mean? So maybe an American market is different than, European global market. Or that makes sense.
And Heather, I mean, you're a ethno-musicologist?
Yeah.
Whew. Nice.
Do you know what that means?
I suppose you study music in terms of the history of it and what it all means?
It's the study of music and cultural anthropology.
Ah, okay.
So you learn more about a culture from the music, or you learn more about a music from the culture.
Yes.
It's the combination of the two.
And you focused on African music, okay. So I wanted to ask, in terms of this global moment that Africa is having in terms of music, it feels to me like this is crazy. Like it feels like we have never had anything quite like this before. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about that because presumably you would have maybe seen trends and stuff and studied some trends. Is this really a unique moment for African music on the global scale?
Well, I mean, everything is a unique moment in music now, especially since social media has come into play. It really has changed a lot. And when I started studying African music decades ago, Africans didn't know about each other's music because there was no way to communicate those things. But now everybody does. And so it's a very different world we're in, and the music just follows along.
What do you think is happening right now in terms of African music?
I think
globally?
African music is blowing up. And Americans, anyway, because I'm based there and I am American, are really, really, really loving Afro beats. I'm sorry, I know we're in East Africa, but it's true. It's in the U.S. It's still Afro beats. It's the West African feel. However, Amapiano, as you know, is so easily imported into any kind of music. So that's getting into Afro beats, which is then coming over to the U.S. So, for example, if I'm at a Zumba class or even at the gym or even in nightclubs, we hear a lot of West African Afro beats along with Amapiano in West African music. But we don't hear so much South African music. We don't hear so much East African music.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that.
We don't. Not popular music. No, we don't. I think it's partly because, you know, I live in Washington, D.C., which is on the East Coast. To fly, and it's not a cultural capital, it's a political capital. But I would say the two cultural music capitals in the U.S. are Los Angeles, which is a 4-hour flight, 5-hour flight, just to get to Los Angeles from Washington. And New York, which is a little further up. But Los Angeles is really where it's happening. And so you just think about the physical distance of getting somebody from East Africa to LA is really, really, really far. And South Africa. So West Africa is still the closest. I feel like that's in some ways partly why we relate. And the music of West Africa, Afrobeats, is so popular, I think. I don't know. I didn't actually study that. I studied singing in Mali. So,
oh, I love Malian music.
I love Malian music too. Can you sing any of Malian?
Can I sing any of them?
Yeah, have you ever tried?
Have you heard Umusangare? How can anyone sing like that? That's.
I can.
Okay, go.
Dembao yo, malikono dembao yo, aya para sokono jigima, ubekere ase dembao ma.
That is so beautiful.
It's nice.
I
like
love it.
Yeah, it's
I love that style of singing.
Yeah, me too.
What do you think? What do you think South Africans and Tanzanians could learn from Malian music?
Oh. History, number one. I'm thinking. Malian music, that unique sound, they go back to tradition that reaches back hundreds of years. And they don't let go of that. Like the griots and the storytelling and the tradition, they do not let go of that. And they keep that and they're proud of it and they love it. And I think that makes that music so strong. And they bring it into modern age in terms of technology and beats, but they don't change the core history, the historical value of it. I think that's what makes it so special. I don't know, South Africa has such a rich, strong music industry and music culture. I don't think we can say that they're doing anything wrong at all. Tanzania, I don't know as much, but I know that Tanzanian music, like I know that you guys have a lot of beautiful traditional stuff that hasn't been modernized yet. I mean, I'm thinking of the really old, I was asking yesterday, Mlimani City Center, I said, wasn't there a jazz group? It was like an orchestra called Mlimani Jazz Orchestra from like 1960s. And I think it was a taxi driver. It was like, oh my God, yeah. Well, what happened to that? What happened to that music? Why don't we hear that? Why don't we hear it updated? Or, you know that one? That song, Macho Yana Chega, Moyo Nalia. Why? That's got the best melody ever. Why do that? That could be taken up into something, just dip back in some of those beautiful, catchy melodies.
I really love that you said that,
Yeah.
because if I were to give advice to a Tanzanian musician or somebody who wants to enter the music space, I would say use the history of your music, which is, I suppose, what you said. So I would just plagiarize you, essentially. No, but like use the historic. So nyie, kuna nyimbo nyingi ambazo nyie mkisikiliza kwa amapiano kwa mfano, mnaona kama ni mpya. Hata sidhani kama kuna hata moja ambayo wimbo wote yani ni mpya kabisa. Amika yeye from beginning to end. Hakuna hata moja. Wanachukua nyimbo za zamani za sauzi sana. Nyie mtasikia yani huyu anaweza sana melody, ana melody nyingi sana. Wakati wanachukua yani melody za zamani, which I think is such a plug. I was just saying that, with Amapiano, there's extreme of sort of taking old melodies, old songs, and repackaging them into Amapiano. There's hardly a song in a popular Amapiano song that isn't referencing Kwaito melodies from the 80s, melodies from, various moments in South African history.
I would also mention, too, the energy. It's hard to talk about energy, but you have an amazing energy. When you're on stage, the dancing, just like jumping up and down, dancing, it's so great. And you feel like, wow, wherever that girl is from, I want to go there. I want to be where she is. And
South African tourism better pay me something.
Yeah, you're right. But, Tanzania has its own energy, and I've only been in Dar es Salaam, and many years ago I was in Zanzibar. But, since I've been at VOA for 12 years now, and before that studying African music, I've been to, 18, 19, 20 different African countries and spent time there. And Tanzania, I can tell you from what I know, Zanzibar and here, is got its own energy, and you guys should take that and make that clear in the music, like she does, or like Snoop Dogg does. Snoop Dogg, he's got the LA vibe, which is chill and cool, and he hardly does anything. He's just so, and Tanzania, I think, has that sort of very mellow Hakuna Matata. It's okay, don't worry, it's all right. That's awesome. And so I feel like if you could also capture the energy of Tanzanians' pace of life and approach that's unique. It's hard to describe, but I think it's something.
I love that.
You do?
Yeah, I love that as a piece of advice. That's awesome. I haven't even thought of it that way, but that's exactly true. Because when I think of Amapiano, South African music in general, it does capture the energy in South Africa. South African people are much more dancing.
Yeah.
Or let me just say a specific kind of dancing. Because I have this very silly theory that if you look at the African map, each country almost dances like using the body part that is correlates to where they are. So South Africans are at the bottom, so we're the feet of Africa, which is why we're always,
Oh, yes.
and that's how we're going, so South African dance moves are really about feet.
Feet.
And then you have Congo, which is in the middle of Africa, which is Kiuno, Cindy.
Yes.
And they're always going, it's all they do, it's just here. Yani, hapa is South Africans. Congo wako wapi hapa. Then you have Ethiopia, which is kind of I feel like the shoulder.
Head, even head.
Of Africa, and that's how they dance, that's what they do. And then I felt when I went to Senegal, which I suppose is the arms, it's you saw the Mbalach dancing,
Yes.
which is very much arms. So
That's a good
copyright.
theory. That's a good theory.
Thank you.
You could write a dissertation on that.
So yeah, just sort of like the music would imitate, I think, the energy of a place. And so South African music is more pacey, it's more dancey, because that's what it is to live in South Africa. Yeah. And even the different cities have different energies.
Right.
Like a Durban club energy is very different, you know, than like saying a Pretoria club energy, you know.
I don't know how much time we have left. I'm moderating, but I'm not paying attention to the time. I'm expecting somebody else to tell us when our time is up. 10 minutes? Are we supposed to open up the floor for questions? Or do we have 10, is that now? Do we do that now?
Yeah, I think we should, right?
You think we should?
We've been
we've been talking
for a while.
Gosh, hope you're not bored. I hope you're not bored, Sho.
Getting there.
Get bored, she get bored. All right, questions. Let's open up some questions for Sho. Okay, right here. Nope, you're turning around now. Oh.
Hello. Sure, it's nice to see you in the flesh.
Ya urembo wa wanawake. Tunasuka nywele za aina zote, tunapamba maharusi, tunafanya simple makeup na full makeup. Saluni yetu iko maeneo ya NBC Ribet karibu na Msua Pharmacy. Tunapokea wanafunzi wa field. Kwa mfano kama hapa tuna wanafunzi waliotoka kwa Flora Nifo. Ni wanafunzi wazuri sana, ni waelewa, wana nidhamu na wameshajua kila kitu hasa kwa masuala ya nywele. Kama unavyoona hapa wako na wateja, wanawahudumia vizuri na wateja wanafurahia huduma zao. Wanafunzi wa Nifo Beauty College wana nidhamu nzuri, na pia kwa upande wangu naona pia hapa saluni wamenirahisishia baadhi ya kazi, kwa sababu wanapofanya field si kwamba wanalipwa. Wanafanya field bure, wanajihudumia kila kitu, lakini pia wananisaidia kwa kazi za kuwahudumia wateja wangu na wanafurahia huduma pia za home beauty. Napenda ni washauri wazazi wenye mabinti, msikao nao nyumbani. Wapelekeni Nifo Beauty College wapate mafunzo, nasi home beauty pia tutawapokea kwa ajili ya kuwapa uzoefu zaidi.